Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rule of Thirds podcast. Today we have Stephy Fung, incredibly hardworking and very, very talented. If you haven't seen any of her work, I'm not quite sure where you've been for the last 5 years or so, because she's pretty much been everywhere. She's worked with such amazing clients such as Gucci, Dell, Snap Inc., and Selfridges. She's also been around during the NFT boom, where she created some of her own digital fashion work there. She's also been invited to events such as NFT Paris, Met Amsterdam, and London Fashion Week. She's also created some physical garments as well as digital garments, which we'll get into a little bit later. She's recently been added to the Forbes Under 30 list, as well as showcasing her work at W1. Steffi, welcome. It's a lot of work you've done. There's a big list of things, but yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that. How's the last few months been for you?
Yeah, it's been crazy, Jared. Well, thank you so much for having me. It has been interesting past 5 years since lockdown, I would say. I think that's where my career really took off. And it's just been a constant experiment with digital fashion. And that's the industry I'm currently in right now.
Yeah, definitely. And what would you personally say digital fashion is? How would you define it, and how does it differ from regular fashion?
Yeah, so it is a way to represent fashion with pixels. So you could display it on screens essentially. You can display it in metaverse or with augmented reality or with gaming skins. So it's just there's a lot of things that can go into it. And of course, the beauty of digital is that you can always take something digital and you can always make it physical as well. So there's a lot of potential when it comes to digital fashion and how it can be used.
No, cool. That's a great answer. And I know things have been really tough in terms of motion industry and the design industry recently. Have you felt any of that been affecting your work or anything that's been going on with you recently? Yeah, get to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I am a freelancer and I do feel it when the economy is slowing down or if there's budget cuts. I do feel it as well. I feel that it's hard on everyone and I keep a close eye on the motion industry because that is where I came from. But also in general as a freelancer, I do feel that in comparison to let's say 2 or 3 years ago where everyone was very excited and the whole sentiment of the working economy was a lot more positive, you can definitely feel the change right now. So I feel whenever I speak to any of my friends or freelancer friends, they all kind of say the same thing.
And is it a case of where you've completely moved away from motion now and you're just focusing solely on digital fashion? Or do you still sometimes get requests for like motion work and you're just like, yeah, sure, I'll do this?
Sometimes I do get requests for motion work, but more so on the fashion side. So they are looking for something to do with, like, say, motion, marvelous designer or Chloe 3D, and then combining that with a motion edit where they're going to use it on social media, let's say. So I have had requests like that. If it aligns with digital fashion, then I'm happy to do it. But more so, if it is just fully motion, I'm less inclined to do it. But it doesn't mean I can't do it. It's just, I think my preference right now is to keep it digital fashion focused.
Cool. No, that's fair. Yeah, you've definitely been like, I guess, at the forefront of all the digital fashion stuff that's been out there. I mean, I think I discovered you during COVID as well. Can you just explain how, I guess, COVID was kind of like a critical moment for you in terms of like where you are today, and how it really helps you get here?
Yes. So I would say just before COVID, when it began around 2019, I was working full time as a motion designer for Selfridges, and it was a few years after where COVID started, maybe a year and a bit, maybe even 2 years, where then we all had to work from home. Right? There was this pivotal moment where we were all a bit scared, and we all had to work from home, had to adapt, and it was a weird time where we all just sat in front of our screens and you couldn't go out and see people. And so what that did for me is that instead of me commuting into London, I spent about an hour and a half on a train and tube getting into London, and an hour and a half on the train and tube coming back from London. That's 3 hours essentially. Now that that wasn't a thing where I woke up, did my work. at home and I didn't have to commute. I had this times that was spare. And so during that time, I spent that time learning Clo. No, Marvelous Designer actually. I started learning Marvelous Designer before I moved into Clo. So I started doing that because I was lucky enough to work on a project the year before. This was just after I graduated university. I had a lot of time. I wasn't employed at that time. And there was this opportunity in this group that I was in called DigiGirl. They are a group full of 3D artists that are more so female or woman-led or LGBTQ plus led, work in XR as well. So we have this community because if I'm honest, I didn't feel that represented in the motion design industry. There's a lot of just guys there. So I just needed a community that I could relate to, right? So I just graduated. They offered this project where they were commissioned by Selfridges to digitalize a physical clothing, digital collection. So there was about 8 outfits. And they asked the group, who would be up for creating a 3D scene, camera animation, texturing. I thought, that's me. I'm free. I got nothing to do. This could be like one of my first freelancing gigs, right? So I took it on. And I realized that working in there was about a team of 6, around that much. 3 of them were like me, came from a 3D background. The other 2 came from a Clo 3D background, and I've never seen that program before. And I saw what they were doing. I saw how these clothes were made out of pixels. They were just 3D. And I thought, this is really interesting. This is 3D, essentially. So after that project, after just seeing what they could do, because all I did really was camera animation and just building 3D environments and texturing. After that project, that's when COVID hit and lockdown happened. I just thought, you know what? Why don't I just try and learn this? Because I've always had an interest in clothing. I've always had an interest in the way I dress. Anyways, I think it came from my mum because she's such a fashionista. But for me, I've always wanted to make clothes, but never, for one, I don't have the sewing skills. 2, making clothes is expensive. And at that time, I was stuck at home, right? It's me and my computer. So I thought, you know what? If I could just create these 3D visualizations of what I could imagine in my head, wouldn't that be amazing? I already have the 3D skills. And so that's what I did during lockdown. And I actually documented that journey on social media. And if you scroll at the bottom of my Instagram, you will still see the first piece that I've ever made in Marvelous Designer.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that's so cool. So did this kind of project with Selfridges come about before you were working there as a motion designer or after?
Yeah, that freelance gig with DigiGirl was before, actually. It was before. And then probably a few months after, I was connected by one of the alumni from my university because she used to work there, and I managed to get my foot in the door because I knew someone, which is very helpful. And so, yeah, it just turned into this kind of full circle moment where I was, freelancing for Selfridges with DigiGirl. And then I got into Selfridges a few months after.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. That's really amazing how that worked then. So you also went to LCC, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Did you do your foundation there as well then? Did you do both?
I did do my foundation then. That's gone now. It's so sad. I did a foundation year. It was just a free year of experimentation with graphic design, with film and photography, and just figuring out what you like. And in the end, it turned out that I really like graphic design. But it also was during that year that I was taught how to use Premiere Pro, which is now I use so much. I video edit like there's no tomorrow now. So it was a really pivotal year for me for just experimenting and not having any stress. But after that, I studied graphic design, and then I moved into motion design, and then now a digital fashion artist.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, just kind of going back to like your experience at university, because I actually did my foundation at LCC as well, but mine was just in graphic design. I just kind of want to know how like your experience was there, like would you say like you stayed on just because like the experience was that good, or did you see some teachers that you were really like, oh, you know what, I like the look of their work, I like what they're doing, this is why I'm gonna go here.
I think I stayed on because that foundation year was my year to convince my parents that I was kind of serious about going into the creative arts. My backup would have been economics or marketing. And it's very typical as an Asian to just like go into marketing or be a lawyer or be a doctor. You know, there's these stereotypes that we place. But thankfully, my
Mm,
parents actually didn't put too much emphasis on me taking that route because I think they did see from a young age that I am very creative, love to draw, love
mm,
to paint, love to just create things visually. So that graphic design, that foundation year that I experimented for a whole year, I think that really determined a taste of what university could be like because, committing yourself to 3 years to a degree, it is a long time and it's a lot of money. So I think, I'm really sad that the foundation year is gone because they don't provide that anymore, but it just really helped to, like, consolidate what I was really passionate about, and at that time, it was graphic design.
oh, that's cool. No, that's really great to hear. I think I don't know, my experience there wasn't quite the same. Maybe it's just because I did the one subject as my foundation, but yeah, it's cool that they at least did offer that. Would you say with your time there, was it quite diverse in terms of like the range of students that you had, or was it very much just you know the same kind of group of people we see in our industry a lot now?
It is surprisingly, in my course, a lot of ladies, a lot of females, and then when I graduate, I have no idea where they all went.
Yeah.
Really, truly. So there's a lot of people that were female in the graphic design. Of course, it was. I think it. If we talk about male to female ratio, it was a balance.
Mm,
And in terms of um, people like me, I think there were lots of international students. Of course,
mm,
universities need money, but also in terms of the people that I saw were mostly came from, I would say, more of a privileged background. And you
yeah.
wouldn't see as many, I would say, ethnic people or minority people within the graphic design courses.
Yeah. And did that really affect you at an early age in terms of like in terms of like your education? Did you notice it then, or was it something you kind of like noticed a bit later on where you were just like, oh, not many people like me around at the moment?
I think it's always been there since young because
Mm,
even in when I was primary school age, so this is 5 years old upwards, I was probably the only Chinese girl or one of two or one of three Chinese people there. And the rest were, well, I would say I've grown up in quite a multicultural area, which I'm so
mm,
blessed. But in terms of it, were there other like Chinese girls like me, I would be the minority essentially. And I always find that I would try and fit in. That's what I tried to do. And but then as I became a bit more confident, and as I grow up as an adult and become a bit more confident in who I am and what I stand for, then now I feel a lot more. I don't have that same feeling anymore of
mm.
oh I need to fit in.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, I think you and I have kind of grown up in the same kind of area. So yeah, I know what you mean by in terms of like it can be quite diverse, but in terms of like at least East Asians, there's not a huge amount. At least there wasn't back when we were probably growing up. No,
Agree. Yes.
yeah, I think I only had one friend who was East Asian back then. And yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but more diversity in South London, please. I think that'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's really cool to hear, though. As kind of like it's twofold for you, both being a woman and person of color. What kind of like direction would you like to see the industry kind of take to kind of combat a lot of these issues? Because I guess, like you said, there is a lot in terms of when you're studying, but where do they kind of go? Where do they disappear? Like, what happens to all these people? Do you think it's just like they've just chosen different career paths for themselves, or do you think it's definitely an industry based issue?
It's a mixture. I think when we're talking about graphic design industry right now, graphic design is a great stepping stone to many other industries. And even when I'm applying it to digital fashion right now, I think of like design principles that I might have learned during graphic design and composition and how things should be laid out. That is really helpful. And of course, I know how to make an epic poster, and it's very useful sometimes. So I feel like, when people study graphic design, a lot of people don't know what they're going to do after. And then they realize perhaps, oh, I've got graphic design skills, but I might go into UX. Oh, I might go into branding. I might go into, this other place, or like, uh, well, I went into 3D. I didn't go straight into digital fashion, but even 3D is connected to graphic design. So I feel like that is probably what happened. And perhaps the rest of them thought, you know what, graphic design isn't for me. And that's what happens with a lot of university students. They sign up to something and then they realize maybe in the last year, or they realize in the first year, that it's not for them.
What was kind of the crucial moment or the key thing that made you want to learn 3D? Was it just seeing something out in the wild, or did you have like a module on it at university? Like, where did that kind of like interest come from?
There was no modules on it. They had at university extra Cinema 4D lessons if you wanted to learn. And I just signed up to those. I think I probably stumbled on a YouTube video of a spinning sphere with like fur on it. And it was just fascinating because I would think about the movies that I would watch, like especially Pixar that moved into 3D, um, going from 2D to 3D, Disney and Pixar. And then I thought, you know what, I really like this. For some reason, there was just something captivating about a spinning sphere that had a bit of fur and just seeing the movement on it. So then after seeing that, I just started learning from, a lot of YouTube channels at the time. Anyone who could provide a tutorial, I would learn it. And actually, in my course, only two of us, including myself, there's me and this other guy who was really into 3D. And so we definitely bonded over that fact, and we just started learning and growing together.
Nice. That's really cool. Yeah, interesting. Um, I wonder what it was about that kind of like fur ball that made you want to get into 3D. That's so cool. But yeah, I guess kind of moving on to I guess your current industry. So how do you feel like it is in kind of like the digital fashion realm? Is it a bit more of an even split than it is with motion and graphic, or is it like overwhelmingly majority female, and then lots of people of color in it? Because obviously you have the opportunity to connect, I guess, with people from all over the world when it comes to fashion, because the industry is so broad.
More definitely female heavy, I would say. There are guys there, but in terms of, if I were to compare it to graphic design industry or even 3D industry, there are definitely a lot more female designers in the field.
Mm, yeah, that's cool. Fair enough. Do you feel does it feel a little bit more comfortable then as a result with the better mix of female?
I think so, but also I think that is most comfortable because it comes to a point where I also just matured as a person and feel a bit more confident that at this point I just really don't care about what's happening, and more so just I'm more focused on putting my voice out there and show people what is possible. I am happy that there are a lot more females in the field, but I think,
Yeah.
as long as there's a way for me to show that, to show off my work, to show
Mhm.
that people like me can get into the field, it should hopefully inspire more people to get into the field. And that was still my same way of thinking when I was still in the 3D motion design industry as well. I was also posting my work in the 3D field just so that people could see people like me were also existing in the 3D field as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think if you kind of like never did the whole like hybrid 3D fashion motion stuff as well, in terms of like showcasing it in both worlds, I don't think I ever would have probably discovered you, which is, cool. Like that you did do that, and then you kind of like have always been quite, this is how you get into this industry, this is how I do my work, especially with all of your Twitch and your Patreon episodes, I guess. And you now, I believe you're now doing a course. You're creating a course. So yeah, I think you're very kind of like vocal on how people can discover your field and your industry, which is really kind of cool and amazing to see. Could you tell us a little bit about what goes into like creating a course? Like how much work is it from the outside? Like, because yeah, I have no idea. I always see courses and I'm just like, this is a lot of work, people.
Yeah, I have made a Domestika course before in 2021 or 2022. So that was my first time making a full-fledged course. It was a great learning curve because they handled the editing, they handled the subtitles, they handled the marketing. All I had to do was record my screen and show what I did. So even that just took a good few days or even a few weeks because you also have to review what you are saying. You want to make sure that there's no mistakes. You want to make sure that it makes sense for people. You also want to make sure that it doesn't bore people and there's no awkward gaps. So I think when it comes to making courses, it is definitely time consuming at first. It does take a lot of planning. And I have a lot of respect for people who make courses because a lot of people complain that a lot of people point towards courses now like, hey, buy my course, buy my course. But it's, there's a lot of effort that goes into it. There's a lot of planning and editing and like all of that just takes time. So I think, um, yeah, making a course, you do need a lot of time. I think that's what is the most challenging thing out of it. And so right now I'm in the planning stages because the planning is most important. And then filming is easy.
Yeah.
Editing is terrible. I hate editing because you have to listen to your voice 10,000 times. And then the marketing part is when you get excited about promoting it. But I think for me, the reason why I doing my own course, and I just talked about, oh, like I have a Domestika course. That course is now out of date.
Right.
There's just so many 3D program updates. The UI has changed. There's probably better ways to do things. So I'm like, I still got like a YouTube video promoting that Domestika course, but to be honest, I'm thinking, guys, don't go on that course. I'm gonna make a new one. It's about time. It needs to be updated. And that's the thing about 3D is that the space moves very fast and lots of updates, and that you just got to keep up with the latest changes, especially with, of course, AI infiltrating a lot of places in our lives right now. So with that course, I am starting anew just because I think it's time, but also what is interesting, what I've observed in the digital fashion space is that there are a lot of digital fashion artists. They come from two places. They're either a 3D designer background or they have fashion background. Now, the people from fashion background, really great with fashion, technical skills, but then they might not have really good 3D skills to back it up. And 3D is hard to learn. And then you have 3D people who have amazing 3D skills, but don't have the fashion technical skills. And I was more so on that side. I had to learn a lot of fashion technical skills, and I'm still learning to this day. If I'm honest, there's a lot for me to learn still. And as I'm learning these fashion terms, I also realize it's not easy to learn that either. So I think having a course where it makes it easier for both parties to be able to be proficient at both 3D and fashion, that's where the sweet spot is. And there's not enough of those types of designers in the field right now.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Do you have like a rough date in mind for when your course might be coming out? Or you just like
By the end of 2025, that's my aim.
oh yeah,
I need to get
that's
that.
very soon. So yeah, well,
That's very soon. So we'll see if that happens. But for now, I'm in the planning stages. I've been able to wait list for anyone who's interested. And then
right.
whilst the wait list builds up, I'll create the course.
Nice, fantastic. I look forward to it coming out and probably getting it myself as well. So yeah,
Well,
very excited by it.
thank you.
No, no, of course. So just kind of going back to your kind of like work. You said you've spoken quite openly about how it's helped you kind of connect with your culture and your heritage. How has that kind of developed over the years? And do you kind of feel like it's your relationship with your culture has changed as a result of that? Yeah, be interested to hear more about that.
Yeah, I guess when I first started as a young designer, I would look at what is trending on Instagram. And back then, what was trending on Instagram in 3D was loops of abstract shapes that just didn't make sense, but visually eye pleasing. They just looked amazing and you just couldn't stop looking at them. So I just copied that. I just copied it and I just realized, I can copy things well, but in terms of does it represent me? Will it make me stand out as a designer? Not really. So then that's when I decided to add a lot of my culture in my designs. And I started doing that with 3D. And there I felt a little bit more, a more sense of purpose, a sense of identity in my work because I wasn't really seeing this work, at least not here. I'm sure if I go to Asia, you will see a lot more of that type of work over there. And so I started doing that and utilizing my culture and just bringing things in like mahjong pieces. I would add like these boxes that we would get with mooncake from the Mooncake Festival. They always have these really pretty boxes. They look great. And I'm like, why don't like the British have something like this? Their boxes look very like painterly, very like John Constable sort of vibes. But, like, with Chinese ones, it's very bright, it's very vibrant, it's very
Yeah.
they've got these graphics and embroidery, and I just love looking at it. So I decided to make that in 3D and create fans, like Asian Chinese fans. And so this was what brought me joy because I felt like I was connecting back to my culture, but I was also sharing it with my audience. And then, of course, when I switched to digital fashion, then I started to look more at clothing. And what I realized was when I was watching traditional Chinese period dramas, they would be wearing the most amazing costume design. And you would see, I would analyze the sets actually as well as a 3D artist. I'm like, oh, wow, look at that lighting there. Oh, look at that texture there. But then it got to the costume and the fabrics, and it's all very everything just visually looks vibrant and vivid. And so that's what I would take into my work now. If you ever look at my works, also very vibrant. I use lots of silks, use lots of influence from Chinese culture. And I do that because one, there's not a lot of work that really looks like that. And two, it's just a way of me expressing what I feel and who I am into my work.
Yeah. Do you I know you have made some of your digital pieces physical, but do you ever feel like you or wish that you could wear more of your digital pieces?
Yes, I do. I just wish it didn't cost as much because in digital, it's so quick, so easy, and costs like a fraction of what it would take to make it physical. So, if anything, what I've learned from bringing my digital design to physical is that um, you really need to make the physical piece look exactly like the digital piece. And sometimes that's hard to do. It's difficult because what we imagine in digital and the beauty of digital is you can make anything happen, but it may not be feasible in the physical world. It might not be functional or practical, or it just might not be possible for someone to sew it in that way. So I've just learned a lot from experimenting with a company called Digital Twin. They helped to bring my digital pieces to life, and they had a pattern cutter, a pattern maker to help translate my designs into proper clothing to be worn. And so that was definitely a learning curve, and just seeing that come to life, actually seeing a design that was in my head, turns digital, made to physical. Just there's just nothing that can beat that feeling, really. And also to have clothing that nobody else could wear, or you can't just buy it off the high street. It was, yeah, definitely a great feeling.
Cool. That's nice. Incredible. That. Yeah. How long did that whole process take in terms of like going from digital back to physical? Was it quite lengthy or was it surprisingly fast?
I mean, digital pieces can take a week, can take a few days, can take a few weeks. So it really depends on the intricacy. What I did have to do was simplify my designs for physical pieces. And then I realized why making a hoodie is probably one of the most popular garments to make because it's simple. It's simple and
Mhm.
people like to wear hoodies. But then I just thought if I were to make a physical hoodie with just a logo slapped on, I would absolutely cry because that's not my style and it's not really art to me. So every time I create a design, I want to be able to make the design different and stand out compared to just buying something where they have lazily slapped a logo on.
Yeah, no, I hear that for sure. Yeah, I think a lot like seeing all your pieces, like because I've just been doing crazy amount of research on you. Just yeah, everything stands out, and everything has its own like world, and you can kind of they will like it's really hard for me to kind of go in and be like, oh, I like this the most because they will have their own kind of like unique elements to them. It's just really beautiful to kind of see, especially if you're looking at them all kind of like back to back. So yeah, no, I get why you feel that way about it. Um, yeah, in terms of I guess the making them quite. Oh, in terms of sorry, in terms of like when you unveiled them because it was at London Fashion Week where they kind of showcased the physical pieces. What was that kind of experience like for you? Like obviously having been in the digital world for so long, and you're just like, oh, now I've got real pieces. I am a fashion designer, effectively. So, what was that experience like? What was the you know in terms of like being at London Fashion Week and like having it showcased there as well. What does that mean to you? You know, really good to.
Yeah, it was a very shocking moment. It was a moment of where I thought, wow, I could actually step into the world of fashion. I've always had this imposter syndrome that, oh, I'm not a fashion designer. Studied graphic design, moved into 3D and digital fashion. This is all like digital, right? So we were, and I say we because I was part of this collective called Psyche, and I'm still am. But they launched this collective, I believe in 2022 or 2023, and they wanted to highlight the most influential digital fashion artists and bring them to London Fashion Week. And it was especially during a time where the fashion industry looks down on digital fashion and thought it was a sort of plaything, a sort of, oh, it won't last. Oh, it doesn't look as great as
Mm,
physical fashion. So we were there to really show the potential of digital fashion. And I was there to show not only my digital pieces, but to combine it with a physical piece, which was launched at the event. And it was just amazing because people could appreciate the design, they could see where it came from, they can make that connection. And so I feel, yeah, really not relieved, but like elevated. I felt very elevated then, where I could show people that this could also work in the fashion world as well. And
yeah.
the interesting about digital fashion is that you can dip your toes into fashion, you can dip your toes into tech, you can dip your toes into gaming. It is those three different industries that you can dip your toes into and really get into. So I'm just really glad that I was able to create my first piece and see it come to life.
No, that's really cool. Nice little Venn diagram as well there, of the kind of like overlapping industries. It's cool. You said there was like a little bit of I guess people looking down on digital fashion within the fashion world. Has that really changed over the last couple of years then? Or is it still you still come across people who are so like whatever when it comes to digital fashion?
I think it's still the same. I think the gimmick, people think it's a gimmick. And it's also because with digital fashion, there needs to be a way for it to really be worn. And during the NFT boom, the metaverse boom as well, I think we were overly positive. I say we again, sorry, as in we at the digital fashion industry because we are very small. But as I was talking to other designers, other people who create digital fashion, we were overly positive that NFTs would lead the way for digital fashion and people would be able to buy these tokens, which means you can redeem it for physical pieces or you can redeem it for metaverse games, skin wearables. It was definitely a positive time where everyone thought everything was possible. But then AI took over, NFTs, the interest for NFTs went down, and our digital fashion is kind of split into two ways right now, where either you go back to physical fashion, you show digital fashion piece, this idea, and you bring it to life via physical pieces, or you go more into gaming skins. So that is where it's headed towards. There are still places where you can experience digital fashion in different ways, such as Apple Vision Pro. I'm sure Snapchat has to have their spectacles, their glasses that they can wear as well. So there are those, but the uptake of Apple Vision Pro and spectacles, not everyone's wearing them enough for it to be a thing, you know.
Yeah.
So we if we wanted more of that kind of mixed reality experience for digital fashion, that is what the technology needs to be accessible, first of all. And I thought 5 years ago that by this time, everyone would have like glasses where we could see, and not only what you're wearing now, but also what you could be wearing on top with a digital skin and filter, which you can change.
Yeah.
Clearly, 5 years later, we're in 2025 now, it's still not there. So it's quite interesting to see. But what I can say where digital fashion is thriving right now is definitely as a digital piece going into physical, you're combining it like that. Or if you go straight into gaining skins and you work at it that way as well.
Yeah. Oh no, that's really cool. It's so incredible for me to hear like your perspective on it because I think last couple of years I've been working somewhat in the digital fashion industry. Like I had a placement at Sweaty Betty for a while where I was doing a lot of like 3D marvelous designer work. And it was kind of like not the first time because I did like at the agency I was at as well. I did lots of like AR stuff there too. Um, and yeah, like you were saying, it's gone from like Snapchat where it was like kind of like body track, bits of body tracking. You could see it, but other people would be seeing it through their phones rather than yourself, for example. And then I think it might be Lululemon or it's John Lewis. They have like the augmented reality mirrors where you can go in and you kind of try stuff on as well. But yeah, it's interesting that it still has quite a long way to go before it's a bit more mainstream. But yeah, I definitely would like to see it that way. Do you think you'd be a big adopter on the of the kind of like Apple glasses and Snapchat spectacles as well? Or no?
I would leave for Apple Vision Pro if it wasn't so expensive. It is
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. I got to try it from a friend and just the quality was incredible. It's
Yeah.
one of the best. But I just, you could you can't afford it. It is like, what was it? You can buy a sofa for that price, right? A
Yeah.
nice couch, right? So even for VR headsets cost what, £300, £500. It's more affordable. But if you're talking about a few £1,000s, oh, you got to think about it. You have to think
Yeah. Yeah.
about it. So I think for me, I would love for that to be mainstream, more mainstream. Just having these glasses where you could see these digital skins on top of everyone and it would be body tracked. But the thing about digital wearables is if you want them to be light, that means their battery is small, which means they cannot last for a long time. So what happened was when I was testing with Snapchat and their spectacles was that I would have to charge it quite often. And, you know, if you have to do something out of inconvenience, people don't like it. People, they want it to be light, they want it to be stylish, they want it to last for at least a day, right? A few hours at least. But yeah, I just think everything's a bit work in progress when it comes to wearable tech.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's cool. Yeah, hopefully it'll get there one day. As like technology gets better, hopefully it gets smaller and lighter as we hoped. So yeah, it'd be cool. Did you I don't know if you kind of ever saw or were part of like the whole in Canada where they have the Cyberpunk, they had all the kind of like neon t-shirts that kind of have like the little LED screens and stuff like that. Did you ever look at that when you were younger and be like, oh, that's cool. I'm kind of gonna go down that route and see what I can kind of create there because like I feel like there's such an overlap between some of the kind of like stuff and pieces that they put out and a lot of the digital fashion world,
Mhm.
and where it is now and how it's trying to develop. So yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah. I guess for me, I've always been interested in connecting digital to physical experiences and
Mm.
actually going to places like the Outernet on Tottenham Court Road where you're immersed in this massive screen, and it's absolutely huge. And um, at least 100 people can stand inside that space and experience something with where it's just full on screen. I think that's just absolutely incredible. Or even when I think about the Las Vegas Sphere, that's on a greater scale of compared to Outnet in London. And I just think, one day I have to go there. I need to experience it. But then I also think that we can't rely too heavily on just digital. I think,
Yeah.
there must be a balance between the two of physical and digital. And that's why I think when it comes to digital fashion, being able to connect it back to physical pieces is actually quite lovely, because you buy something online and then you're able to get a physical piece. And it's just something that, as I said before, when I created my first piece, it's just a feeling you can't replace, knowing that, you bought something and then it's exactly as it turned out, from exactly the same as what it looks like on the website to what it is in person. I think when you buy something online and the color's slightly off, or it's too small, or completely doesn't look the same, you're just disappointed. So when it comes to digital fashion, I think when connecting it to physical experiences, it can be magical. Can be magical.
For sure. Definitely. No, that's cool to hear. When you were at Nice Tuesdays, I think it was like a year ago now, and you spoke about the hoodie that you were wearing, and it had it was an NFC tag. And how it had to be made to order essentially, because you bought it as part of this like a token system. Do you feel like I guess digital fashion or fashion in general is gonna try and head into more of that direction to try and like limit the kind of wastage that fast fashion has, for example? Or do you feel like there's just too many issues with that as well, in terms of like having to wait for too long for your order, or it's just not really that viable in terms of like being a profitable business?
Yeah, I think a lot more brands are utilizing NFC chips to show where their garments come from now. There has been a legislation that has been passed where any digital goods needs to show, sorry, not digital, any goods, physical goods, need to show where they have been made, where they have come from, what's the material, how much of like the percentage of the material. So that is a lot more transparent. And you will see a lot of fashion brands and luxury brands, they will now have a tag which you can scan and see where everything comes from. And it's not as ambiguous. So I feel that that transparency is what I loved about NFTs back a few years ago. And the I think this is an EU legislation that they are forcing fashion companies to be transparent about where things are made. And that's definitely going to help not only the consumer trust what they're buying, but also keep companies accountable of where they are sourcing their materials and who they're working with as well.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, I didn't know about that legislation. Yeah, it's really cool to hear. And it's great that you're like, really kind of like on top of all of the like, I guess, the news information and trends and how everything's going in your industry as well. That's amazing. How do you balance everything? How do you keep on top of that with all the live streams that you do, the teaching, the actual work? Like, it's a lot. How are you able to keep on top of all of that?
I don't do it very well. I just take it as it comes. I think I do need a proper system. Still trying to figure that out. I've actually been streaming weekly since the lockdown. So this will be my 5th year of live streaming. So that has been a schedule, just every week turn up. So that's, one place I can actually feel organized. But the rest, when it comes to creating content or finding time for client work, sometimes my client work has to take priority and I can't
Yeah.
make any content. I can't do anything else because that client work it just needs to be done. So I feel like right now I'm taking it as it comes, and I personally don't have a schedule. I organize my days via tick lists of, okay, what do I need to get done today? And then I try my best to go through all of the ticks.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Seems a bit chaotic, but it works for you. Works for you. Cool. I just kind of like, I guess, on that, because you're so busy all the time. Do you ever like experience creative block, or if you do, how do you kind of overcome it? Because if you're constantly kind of churning things out all the time, whether it be for content, whether it be for your live streams or for client work, like that must slowly start to take its toll on you a little bit.
Yeah. The best way for me to get out of creative block is exercise. I have a daily walk to just break up my day to make sure I just have a break somewhere. Otherwise, I'm just sitting at my desk all the time. And then if I really just cannot think of anything, I just go and work out, go like do sweat and just like not think about work. And then yeah, your mood improves anyways when you do exercise. So during those times, usually I think of something when I'm not thinking about work. And so I
Mhm.
think it's important to get your body moving because I know us as people who work on computers, we're just got the tech neck or, got wrist pains and all of that. So you need to move your body. It's very important. And actually, since working from home, I've noticed a difference in my body compared to when I used to go into London. It is very evident that I need to move my body more. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just make sure you get out, and then the a solution will come. A solution will come to you.
Fair. No, that's fair. Yeah, Hash. Do you know Hash? Like Hash, the 3D
Mhm.
motion like yeah, he has the exact same like feedback, I guess, in terms of like just get out there, get moving, do something, go for a run. Like it'll just help. It'll give you space away from the computer. So yeah, definitely second best to say it now. So definitely advice to live by. I feel like can kind of move on to like rapid fire round if that's okay with you, because we are actually running out of time as well. So um
Okay.
yeah. So with the rapid fire rounds, it's just like red general questions about like you yourself, what you're kind of into. So just to start with, are you listening to what kind of music are you listening to? Are you watching any shows at the moment? Are you reading any
Yeah.
books? What would you recommend for people?
I have been this weekend. I just watched on Netflix, as they do. They have always got new movies and series coming out. I just watched K-pop Demon Hunter, and
Nice.
it's really good.
Oh, did
It exceeded my expectations because it's like High School Musical. All the songs are every single song on the soundtrack was well produced. I wasn't expecting
nice.
that, so I've been listening to that soundtrack recently.
Previously that you'd probably be doing economics if you didn't enjoy um the creative field. Is that where you think you'd be right now if you weren't in the creative industry, or would you think you'd be doing something else? What is it about economics that kind of drew you to it?
I really enjoyed economics. I studied it at sixth form, actually. I studied business study and economics, and I enjoyed more so the business studies of running businesses, right? So if I wasn't doing anything creative, I think that's what I would be doing: marketing or business studies or something like that.
What bit of advice would you wish someone gave you when you first kind of started?
For me, it's always stay curious, keep learning. I think that's the only way I really survived as well was that I just didn't stop learning. I just kept failing, learning and failing, learning and failing. And you can also see from, especially because I post on social media, my journey that my first pieces were not amazing, but
Mm,
I just kept going and posting it, not scared that people will judge it and that it doesn't look as amazing as somebody who's been working in the field for over 10 years. You have to
yeah.
start somewhere. So I think for me, it's just get over the fear of failing because the more you learn, it's going to be hard. But the more
Mhm.
you learn, the more that you open yourselves to different opportunities in the field.
Yeah, sure. No, definitely. That makes sense. And what bit of advice would you like to give to young women of color, or just people of color in general, or young women who want to start either get into motion design or 3D or whatever it may be? What bit of advice would you love to give them?
I would say learn online. I don't see the point in university, if I'm honest. I think university really gives you community. University gives you facilities. They may give you connection to industry, which is good as well. But if I'm honest with my technical skill, I just learned it all from the internet and I was able to really capture attention by heading into industry at an early age. I was able to have a sandwich year, which meant I had 1 year of working, volunteering, apprenticeship, internship. That helps me more than my degree, in my opinion, because people were looking at my experience and I learned more of what companies I would like to work at, what type of people I would like to work with through that year. And so that definitely helped. I would definitely say freelance early, whilst if you do go to university or if you do study, freelance. That will also teach you how to deal with clients, how to also build a portfolio of people that you work with at an early stage. I remember my first gig was editing a happy birthday video for someone for very cheap. Right. And it was terrible, but I had to start somewhere. So I did it. And then every single time I worked on a new project, I would add a little bit more into my rates and learn how to deal with clients, but also learn how to project manage myself, learn about timelines, yeah, and learn how to just work. I think that's more important than probably working at university. I think university gives you a playground. You know, you can create projects that have no relevance to the industry, but you can really create and be free and not scared of making mistakes because it's not going to affect anyone. But at the end of university, you need to get hired, and it is a difficult job market right now. So I think experience will always be preferred over a make-believe project at university.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I resonate with that a lot. Well, Steffi, thank you so much. I've been a big fan of yours for years, so it's great to be able to talk to you. If people wanted to follow you or to check out what you're doing or to kind of stalk your course that's going to be coming out soon, where would they find any of that information?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I guess if you guys are interested in my works, then find me at Steffi Fung everywhere and anywhere. You type in that name, you'll see me. If you're interested in my course, I'll send a link to Duad and you can sign up to my waitlist there. And yeah, I think that's it. That is where you can find me.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.